Dr. E.N.G. Marek Gruszecki. Philosophy of Being. Krakow, 2025. My 85th anniversary. Philosophical essay Does God Exist? Krakow, the 19th of April 2025. Recognizing your faults. These are habits that usually aim to satisfy some need or desire, which become so ingrained in the human spirit that at some point they become indispensable. Like any form of slavery that distracts the soul from what is truly important, our faults greatly displease God. Therefore, working to eradicate them from our being is one of the most important steps we can take on the path to regaining our faith. But how do we fight our vices? First of all, we must recognize them and admit to them, just as we do with a pathological addiction. Then we must exercise our willpower so that, guided by our vices, we do not stray from the right path and direct our minds and hearts in a different direction. In this case, too, prayer can certainly help us, because only with God's help can we hope to free ourselves from our limitations. Teresa of Avila, doctor of the Church and a woman of great wisdom, left important writings on the need to know oneself, to connect with one's own soul through prayer and meditation, in order to move forward on the spiritual path and free oneself from vices and sins that hinder love and prevent the soul from making room for God. St. Paul also left important writings condemning vices and praising virtues, which he called the works of the flesh and the fruits of the Spirit, respectively. For St. Paul, the only way to rise above the enslaving power of vices and sin is to accept and follow the path of the Spirit by striving for virtues, those fruits of the Spirit that ripen only in people who accept God's grace within themselves. Reading the holy books has always been an indispensable supplement for anyone who wanted to enrich and strengthen their faith, turning their thoughts to God and strengthening their spirit. In addition to reading the Bible, which should never be neglected, it can be helpful to devote oneself to books that talk about the spiritual path that a good Christian must follow in order to reach God, such as the works of the aforementioned Saint Teresa of Avila, in particular the Interior Castle, but also the Confessions of St. Augustine, which show how a talented orator devoted to earthly pleasures was able to transform himself into one of the most famous saints of all time and also a father of the Church, or Philothea. Introduction to the Devout Life, written by St. Francis Delaware Sales, considered one of the fathers of modern spirituality, who describes in this book how every person, every day, through their actions, makes a choice between heaven and hell. Conclusion. But Jesus, overhearing what was being said, said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not be afraid, only believe." Bible, Mark 5 verse 36. It will still be beautiful, despite everything. Just put on comfortable shoes, because you have your whole life to go through. John Paul II. Mathematics in Nature.